I invite all officers to listen and look at the testimony of the deceased. There's not an inch of flesh left intact on his body. Obviously, he was beaten until he confessed. How miserable. Is this what you call a voluntary confession? What a good job you've done, Commander of the Embroidered Uniform Guard. Your Majesty. If you want to ask what crime I committed, just look at my blood. Teacher, Your Majesty has heard your last words, and so many officials here have heard it too. Teacher, you deserve the peace you did not receive. Ah, Your Majesty. You must defend my teacher, Your Majesty. You weren't afraid of death and still insisted on creating a good name for yourself. Chief Chuy, you upheld your morals well. Alas. You can rest in peace. I can no longer run away from Chief Chuy's case. I just hope that the Emperor remembers my good and just has me dismissed or demoted. I was eager to prove my worth in Chief Chuy's case. I've learned from my mistakes, and I'm willing to receive punishment for this. I beg Your Majesty to consider how I have served wholeheartedly for many years and how I've at least put in hard work to spare me and allow me a chance to repent for my mistakes. I was threatened by Fong Chuy, and I failed to stop him in time. I also gave a false statement just now because I feared his retribution. He said that day, everyone here, keep your mouth shut. Anyone daring enough to personally report this today will end up like Chief Chuy tomorrow. I dared not disobey. I beg for your forgiveness, Your Majesty. I need to end all this for good. I can't let this slide today. I have something to report. Speak. I want to impeach Fong Chuy, the commander of the Embroidered Uniform Guards, for committing 12 major crimes. I signaled Fong Chuy to go ahead with that for Chief Chuy's case. Fong Chuy didn't speak my name just now when he confessed, probably because he wanted me to save him. Rights officer. If I continue to stay silent, Fong Chuy will definitely try to incriminate me along with him. Su Yan. You are a mere records department attendant. Take care of your library books. What qualifications do you have to impeach a third-rank officer? His Majesty has the final say on whether I have the right to impeach. Since you care about superiority so much, why are you so eager to have a say in this despite His Majesty not having said a single word? This is insulting. You're trying to belittle the Emperor. Are you, the rights officer, trying to revolt? I have no intention of belittling His Majesty. I'm sure Your Majesty understands. Rights officer, does this have anything to do with you? Not at all. I know nothing about it. Since you know nothing, stand aside, listen, and stop talking. Once you're humble enough to accept others' opinions, then you'll have learned something. His Majesty is obviously going for Fong Chuy's throat. Su Yan analyzed the strands of evidence and combined many convincing arguments. The Embroidered Uniform Guards are the Emperor's honorary guards and a direct military unit of the Emperor. The Northern Provincial Prison's task is to investigate those who committed wrongdoings. It's a sharp weapon of the state at His Majesty's discretion. But with Fong Chuy in charge, he used his power for personal gain and stole this right from His Majesty. This is a serious offense. The 9 sins of Fong Chuy were stated one by one. Forging a confession of guilt, harassing senior official Li, and forcing Chief Chuy to die. He's dismantling the solid pillars of the court. This is his 9th crime. Many of the officials who listened then were unable to restrain themselves, and they came out to petition against him for corruption of power, corruption of the law, forcing ministers to death, and eradicating dissidents. Fong Chuy has committed many grave sins. I implore His Majesty to behead him. I second that. I second that. Su Yan, you can continue. The remaining 3 involve me. I'm afraid I may suspicion, so I am unsure if I should voice them. Need to steer clear of since it is an impeachment involving criminal offenses, there should be no barriers to speech. One should not steer clear of suspicion when it goes against public justice. Just speak up. Fong Chuy colluded with the criminal in Yi Dongluo's murder case, slandered the painter, and jointly set up a trap to frame His Royal Highness the Prince of Yu. He has sinister intentions and has tarnished the virtue of the royal family. This makes it his 10th sin. He sent someone to sneak into Dongyuan to assassinate officials in the palace. Both His Majesty and the Crown Prince were staying in Dongyuan at that time. Who knows, he might have intended to harm the royals. Such malicious intentions are truly deserving of the 11th sin. He is also harsh to his subordinates. His subordinate, General Shen Qi, was reluctant to obey his orders to kill other officials, so he ordered the grooming punishment. This is his 12th sin. The records department attendant was deeply harmed, especially in Yi Dongluo's murder case, but what has the last 2 that you've mentioned got to do with you? Senior officer, the person Fong Chuy wanted to assassinate was me. He originally sent General Shen Qi. General Shen was persuaded by my reasoning, so not only did he not kill me, but many times, he also secretly protected me. It really was Shen Qi. That traitor. 10 years of knowing me, yet he repaid me with hatred. I hate that I was too soft-hearted then. I should have executed him slowly with the death of 1,000 cuts. I'll never admit to that. Just by listening to a few words of slander from a petty officer, without any solid evidence. You're trying to make me guilty? There's no such easy meal in this world. What makes you think I don't have solid evidence? Your Majesty, this is the evidence that Records Department Attendant Su handed over to me for safekeeping. The evidence is here. I'm sure Lord Fong knows what's inside the box better than I do. See it for yourself. It must be Shen Qi. I let my guard down only for him to stab me in the back. I really invited a calamity upon myself. You colluded with Shen Qi to forge all this. I plead not guilty. Not guilty. Are you saying that these bodies were also faked by me? These are the bodies of Fan Tongxian and his subordinate. Your Majesty ordered me and Private Tutor Su to secretly investigate the Yi Donglu murder case. I entered the southern courtyard at night and accidentally bumped into 3 embroidered uniform guards who wanted to assassinate Private Tutor Su. They were caught by me immediately. One of them is injured and is currently waiting for Your Majesty's order outside. There's so much evidence. What's the difference between you admitting to it or not?